So hello and welcome to this video on getting started using Drupal development tools. Hello, my name is Ivan, and I've been doing Drupal videos and also other type of videos for other CMSs for a while. And I believe this is my third or fourth live stream, and I'm doing it on a weekly basis, but I do kind of have a bit of a backlog of stuff I need to do, like create a tutorial for these videos. So I'm not sure if I'll do one next week, just so I can kind of catch up. But anyway, today I want to take you through the process and show you just a few modules and also one CLI tool that you can use during your Drupal development period or Drupal site building. So you can use it for site building. You don't have to be a developer and write code, because I do know that there are people who use Drupal and don't write any code. Hats off to you. Anyway, before we begin, I forgot to mention last week, but today I'm wearing if you can see that, I don't know if you can, but this is a Drupal South Hobart 2019. And it was the end of 2019. And you can imagine what happened in 2020. But also we had other issues where we had bushfires in Australia. So it was in Hobart, which was nice and sunny and clear. And I flew in back to the mainland where there was smog, and then, yeah, with the bushfires. And then, of course, a month or two later, COVID happened. So anyway, all right. So as I mentioned, today I want to talk about a bunch of modules, and all we're going to do is go through them, and I'll just show you how I would use them. So the four tools that we're going to look at, the first one will be Devel, and here I've got it shared. And Devel is a tool which you can install on a module. So it's just a module. You don't have to do any other extra work, and it can help you with debugging things, generating content, exposing routes and services. Then the second one will be a web profiler. Now, I've covered web profiler in the past, but essentially it's a nice little toolbar that sits right down at the bottom of your browser, and it gives you similar information to Devel, but it also profiles, hence the name web profiler. It profiles the page request and then tells you what type of services were loaded up, forms, even the number of queries, memory usage, and a lot of stuff. And then we'll look at our third module, which is a module builder. Yes, you can use this to build modules. The UI is pretty complex, and you'll see it. But if you want to generate modules and generate services, blocks, even entity types, I was playing with it. It is full on what you can do. And then finally, we're going to look at Drush. Now, Drush isn't a Drupal module, but the way you install it is the same, using Composer. Now, just before people ask, now I'm not going to cover things like development environments. That's a whole other video, like DDev and Lando or Xdebug, because those tools require a lot of setup. So for now, I just want to go through these four tools, which you can easily install in your Drupal site just by running a simple Drush command. All right, with that, let's jump into Devel. So come over to the Devel website. And what I recommend is you grab the 5.1 version, and I'll jump over to my terminal. Not that one, that's code. And I will download Devel using Composer. So give that a second. And then if we jump back into our site, and what I'll do is I'll go here. Let me unpin this. There we go. Let's close that. Let's move that. So all the tabs are nicely organized, because they can get out of whack when you're jumping around. And let's go to Extend and search for Devel. Now here you will see two modules, Devel Generate. Let's install Devel for now, but I think you can kind of figure what Devel Generate does. It uses to generate test content, but we'll look at that later. Let that install. And then up the top here, you should see this Devel button here in the actual toolbar. And from here, you can do a bunch of stuff. You can clear the cache quickly, which is very important. You can view container information. Now, this is useful for figuring out and finding these services, because one thing that I grapple with a lot, even after developing Drupal or Drupal 8 sites, well, since I put in services, is just trying to figure out what service to use, because it can sometimes be pretty difficult to figure out, okay, if I want to load up something or I want to do something, where's the API for it? Well, you can figure it out through here. You can search for services and things like that. Then you can access the Devel Settings. Then you can rebuild from here. You can rebuild the menu. Haven't really had to do this. Generally, a cache rebuild fixes it, but I'm sure there's a reason for it. Then you can reinstall modules. Now, this is specifically if you just want to uninstall, reinstall. So when you're developing a module that utilizes hook install and hook uninstall, or you have config that gets generated, that gets imported in when you create things, then you would want to do it this way. And then another tab, which is very useful for me, which I absolutely love, is this routes, because a lot of the times, especially if you're debugging a Drupal site, you come to a page and you're thinking, is it powered by views? Is it a custom controller? Is it something else? And you can easily come here and kind of figure things out. So you can search for, say, admin structure, and it can give you a good idea. Okay, this is the route name and this is the path. Of course, if you're using aliases, your URL aliases, chances are the path, you're not going to find the URL alias here, but it'll give you some way of debugging it. And then on the right-hand side, we have Devel, the Devel button, which gives you just a bit more information about the actual route. So here you can figure out access. That's another huge thing. Figure out access and things like that. All right. And then, of course, finally, if you want, you can go ahead and click and run cron. All right. Now let's jump to Devel Settings and go to Toolbar Settings. And from here, you can actually enable a few extra things. So let's enable current route info, config info, and theme registry. And click on save. And now what we have is, if we go to the home page and click on, well, no, let's actually go to my account. And if we click on current route info, that will actually tell you the route information for that page. So straight away you can see, so let me just zoom in a little bit more. Hopefully you can see that. It's probably a little too small on the screen, but it just gives you the exact controller where everything is. And it's just an easy way of just debugging things and figuring out, okay, this path, this route is controlled by a controller. Okay, that's it. I can go in there and edit things. Then you have theme registry. This gives you information about all the themes on your site, which is, again, useful if you're trying to debug things or you want to find and look for themes. And then you have, and this is an interesting one, I just discovered this while I was preparing for this video. I haven't tried this myself, but hey, you can do it. Config editor. Now, I've recently been working on a site where I've been migrating a bunch of sites from Display Suite to Layout Builder, and I'm dealing with a lot of config, naturally. And having the ability to modify config is actually pretty useful. So you can come along in here and just simply modify, I believe this is the active state config. And sometimes, I don't know when, but it may be handy. But of course, you wouldn't want to run Devel now. I don't recommend that you run Devel on an actual production site. So just use it locally, or even a staging site or a development site or something like that. So just be careful. Don't run it on a dev site. And so let's go back to Devel Settings. And then if we come here, we have a bunch of configuration for the settings. I'm not going to go through it too much, but the next thing I want to talk about is just two functions that you can use in your code to debug variables. And the first one is called DPM function. Now, this one comes with the Devel module. So what I'm going to do is let me, first of all, turn off, let me go back here, configuration. I want to turn off the caching. So I'll go to configuration, development settings, and just turn on Twig debug and no caching markup. Let me jump over to my code. So here I've got VS Code. Yep, that's pretty visible. Yep, okay, it's nicely zoomed in. And let me go to Olivier. That's how you pronounce it, probably, I don't know. And I'm going to add a bit of code in the hook preprocess HTML. So if we scroll down, is that the, yeah, that is. All right, now if I type in DPM and then variables, because, this is how people, and because sometimes this is how you develop. Now, I always get comments whenever I mention Devel and also how to print variables. The first comment in the tutorial is always use Xdebug. Now, yes, I do recommend that you use Xdebug. I use Xdebug with PHP Storm. I highly recommend it. But sometimes, you just want to chuck in Devel and see how things work. So if we jump back to our site, go to the homepage, we will get this nice printed out, exported variable. And here you can see, you can drill down and see exactly what is happening. And we can even go one step further and probably, what is this? All right, let's go HTML. So let's actually drill down to HTML, refresh, and there you go. We are now drilling down. So again, this is a nice to have, but if you are going to do extensive Drupal development, use Xdebug. Trust me, it makes life so much easier. I personally don't know how I survived without Xdebug. That's the first thing I set up on every single site I work on, Xdebug straight away, because, I've tried to help people on their site and I've told them, do you have X, or, when I jump in there and I say, just put a breakpoint on there and check it. And they're like, I haven't got it set up. And so, it's kind of like coding with one hand behind your back. But this is at least somewhat useful if you just want to get in there and look at things. Now, you can also use DPM function in Twig. So if we remove that, let's remove that and let's open up a template. So I will go into form, where's the HTML? There we go, html.html. And what I can do is open up, remove that. CodePilot is trying to figure out what I'm going to write. Type in, no. What's the code exactly? DPM. And then let's inspect the page variable. Hit save. And we come in here and refresh. We should see the page variable exported out. Now, it's important that you turn off the caching like I just did, because if you don't have, Twig debugging turned on, meaning that it won't cache it, then all of your results will be cached, and then you'll kind of pull your hair out, thinking, why can't I see anything? It's not working. It's because the results are just cached. So just be aware of that. It needs to be cached. All right, let me just remove that for now. All right, save that. Now that's a quick overview of Devel, and I do recommend that if this is your first time playing with it, spend a bit of time looking at the configuration, jump into the module as well, and have a look at the functions, because there are functions that dump variables in certain ways. And I don't want to cover all of that because this live stream will be hours and hours long, but do have a look at the configuration and the code. Now, before we jump on to other things, let's look at Devel Generate. So let's go to Extend and search for Generate and click on Install. And then we'll go to Configuration. And then if you scroll down, you should see this whole new section called Generate. And from here, you can generate content, so anything like a content type, menus, terms, users, and vocabularies. Let's go ahead and create users. So we're going to go ahead and create 50 users. You can create 1 user, 10 users, however many users as you want. Right now, it's actually working in the background, but give that a second or two. There we go. Let's go back to generate. And the next thing we'll do is create terms. So select your tags and then go ahead and click on terms. So now we have 10 terms within the tags vocabulary. So far, so good. Now let's go to content. And what I'll do is I will add in, I'll select article and I'll select 50 articles to be generated. And Devel will automatically assign those test users as authors. And why I recommend that you create test accounts is because if you don't, then all the articles will then be owned by either anonymous or admin or your user one. And then scroll down, and what I'll do is I will check all of these, but then I'll uncheck admin and we'll user one and user zero, which is anonymous. And let's add in let's put in a prefix in the title so we know the content type. And comments. Let's put in max number of comments. I don't know, 6. It will randomly put in 6 comments. Well, up to 6 comments. Okay, so we're done and click and generate. So now it's going to go ahead, create the comments, create the articles, and then we come along in here, we can see all of our test content. Everything's looking good. You can come along and click into the article itself. You do have this funny looking image. Like, to be honest, these images aren't the best. I often change these images just before demos for clients because you'll be surprised how important good test content is when you're demoing a site to a client. So I'll often change these images. But other than that, it automatically just populates all the fields. I think most of the fields, you can see it populates a lot. And then down at the bottom, it populates title. And then if you click on edit, it will generate, I'm not sure when, I think the authored on is always like a week later, or maybe does it? No, see, yeah, that's the thing I don't really like as well. Oh, no, not that. I wonder if the generated time, oh no, the generated time is different. All right, it's all right. Oh yeah, okay. Before, the authored on time was always the same, but anyway, that is different. All right, great. So before we move on, so that's pretty much it for Devel. Before we move on to other things, are there any other questions? I'm just going to have a quick look at all of the platforms and see how things are going. I do have one thing that aggregates all the comments, but sometimes I do miss them because I am using a third-party service to stream things. No. All right, cool. All right, let's move on. Let's move on. All right. Now let's take a look at WebProfiler. Now, WebProfiler used to be part of the Devel module, and then it was moved out into its own module, and I covered it, well, probably 2016, 2017, a long time ago. A long time ago. And then about a year or so ago, I had to play with it. Yeah, it was a little buggy, so I really didn't want to talk about it and mention it. But then I decided to take a look at it again, and so far, it actually works, but you do have to use the dev version. That's what I discovered. So as of this recording, there is one bug. So if I just give me one moment, let's copy this in. So if you go to this bug, yeah, when you install, you get this parser function error, and it was fixed in the latest release. So what I'll do is let's go back here. I recommend that you grab the latest dev release of 10.2. And what that composer command looks like, let me just clear this. It is composer require web profiler, then it's 10.2.x dash dev. Now, I'm not a composer expert. I always have to look at the documentation to figure out which version is it. Um, this seems to work. So, here I'm being a bit vulnerable. I'm not a composer expert. I've not, but hey, it works. It actually downloads. You can see it's downloading a specific um, commit, and it goes ahead and downloads it. Honestly, I thought we have to do things where we actually remove the platform and do things like that based off the documentation, but hey, it works. All right. So it's gone ahead and downloaded everything for us. Now let's jump into extend and let's go ahead and enable it. Now, Devel is required, so just leave it on. And then you do have this tracer, which is a module that he downloads. Never used it, but it's there. So we install Web Profiler. Now, the bug that I had actually failed at this point. All right, so straight away, I'm sure you can probably see it right down at the bottom, and it's probably hard to see. So what I'll do, and I was preparing for this, let me push this up. Hopefully you can see that just above my head. Let me zoom in a little bit more. No, not that one. One, two. Yeah, why not? Just have to remember to zoom back. I think you can see that in the stream. Yeah, you can right down the bottom here. All right, cool. So Web Profiler gives you this nice little toolbar. Oh, that's probably a bit too big. Let me zoom back out and pop this down. Just trying to get the right amount of zoom. Oh, there we go. Ah, we'll figure it out. That'll be fine. Okay, that'll be okay. Well, no, that's actually behind me now, isn't it? Yes, it is. All right. Let's just adjust it like so. There we go. So this actual toolbar component is a Symfony component. And what it does is that it gives you all of this great information about your site here in the toolbar. But most importantly, and it may not be obvious, but the name of the module is called Web Profiler, and it actually profiles your sites. So if I come along and say my account, then from here I can see the actual controller for my account. I can see the user that I'm logged in as. I can also see other information similar to Devel. Then you have time. I think this was time set up. I'm not sure why it's saying NA or it's not available. Memory usage. Then we have Ajax request. This is actually pretty useful. This is all the profiler stuff. And then you have the actual queries. Now this one is useful because I've used this to actually set up what is a memcache to try and cache a bunch of queries. And then you can see how long it took and also the number of queries, very important. Then you have the rendered and also loaded blocks. If there is a view on the page, very useful. And then finally, if there's a form, and then if you hover over here, you can see more information about PHP version and which version of Drupal and things like that. You get a bit more information. This stuff's important because I do know Xdebug really slows things down. So if you're doing a lot of quick-based Drupal development, you want to probably turn off Xdebug just to kind of speed things up. All right. So then if we go to, so let's go to the settings. And to go to the settings, let's go to configuration in Devel Generate. Not that one. Where's Devel Generate? No, sorry, not Devel Settings. Web Profiler. And let me just pop this down for now. And then here you can see all of the settings for the toolbar. So you can control the active toolbar, and you can actually turn on or off extra things such as the routing, theme, services, events, config, and you can also go ahead and purge the profiles, because what happens is if we open up another tab, well, let's go to reports, and then you go to Web Profiler, you can actually see all of the reports that have been generated. Now, you will notice that it actually generates multiple reports for the one page. I'm not 100% sure why it does that. maybe of the way Drupal actually renders things and the cache or, because there's multiple GET requests. But I think if you just focus on the top one, then you can actually go ahead and see the profiler. Now, to access all of this, so let me just go back to show you, give you a good example. So let's go back to my account. If we, let me bring this back up. If you click on, say, one of these options here, it will take you then to the dashboard. So this is the actual profile for this particular page. And you can access by going to reports, web profiler, and just by clicking on one of them. And then from the top, you can click on request. You can see all this information about this particular request. You can see the controller, the callback, all this information. Absolutely a ton of information. Access control. This one's actually pretty useful because sometimes when you're trying to debug access issues, you randomly get an access denied on some random page. You can come along in here and see why it is happening. Now, I'm not sure if there's stuff on the side. No, there isn't stuff on the side. Anyway, but you can see just actually everything that's been checked. You have cookies. You also have session, metadata, attributes, request, handler, server parameters, response headers, everything. Then databases. You can see all of the queries that have happened. And here you can see the actual query that's passed to Drupal, but you'll notice that it does have placeholders. Now, if you want to see the actual query that you can then copy and paste into something and actually query it, then just click on swap placeholders. And that means you can then grab this and then run the query. So if you have a large query or views, or you have a rogue view that generates 30 inner joins, outer joins, and it's taking 20 seconds to load up, and you just have to chuck an index on something, well, you can easily figure out the query, come along in here, and then just test everything out. And you can see that there are a lot of queries. I do believe that it will probably change the color if it's a slow query, but there are a lot of queries. Uh, the only thing I would like if there was a way to filter these queries just to kind of compact them and see if a particular module is generating a lot of queries more so than others, or a service, and kind of group them together. Of course, you're going to have a lot of queries come from the one method or something, especially for caching, but that'll be good. And then on the blocks, you have blocks. This just shows you the loaded blocks on the page, rendered blocks. This would be useful to figure out performance issues again if you're having random blocks appearing on the page. I do remember in Drupal 6 days, that was a huge performance issue where over time people will be like, "Oh, my site's running slow," and then you realize that that blocks are getting rendered, but then there's a bit of code to then remove it at the template level, but it's still getting loaded and slowing the site down. It's not really an issue now, but hey, this is just another um, um, vector you can use to debug things. Then it shows you if there's a views on the page, and then finally if there is a form. Now the final thing we're going to look at is, so if we come to one of these, well, actually, let's do services. Let's do one thing. Let's bring up services and click on save. And what we'll do, we'll go to the home page. I will leave this open. Oh, actually, leave these settings open up. Come along here. Now, where is that services? It's somewhere here. Not there, not there, not there. Routes. Oh, well, actually, yeah, let's do routes. Why not? Oh, here it is. Okay. So you also have routes and services here. But the good thing is, so also make sure you scroll to the side. What you want to do is if you come back into the settings and click on IDE settings, you can set it up so that when you click on one of these links, it'll actually open up that class in your IDE, which is very, very useful, just so you can jump around and figure things out quickly, okay? So here, by default, it's PHP Storm, and then let's click on VS Code and click on Save Configuration. And there are other options here, but generally this works out of the box. Now, I do have one comment saying, "Good to see you live." Well, thanks for joining us. Hopefully the LinkedIn live stream is running okay and not because last week there was a few issues. Anyway, thanks for joining us. Now, this is the only configuration you have to do. Of course, if you have configured your IDE slightly differently, you may have to adjust this stuff. But then what you can do, if you come on here, and let's say you're debugging this stuff and you're like, all right, let's see what this cache context URL is. If you click on this, well, no, actually, let's refresh this. I don't want to open up in PHP Storm because I don't have PHP Storm opened up. Come along in here, cache context, click on that. It's going to open up in VS Code. Yeah, click on yes. And then it straight away goes and opens it up. Now that is very useful. I believe you can also do the same for routing as well. So here you can see all the routes to the site. No, you can't. Oh, that's a shame. What about databases? No, you can't also do that on the database. All right. But I do believe anywhere. So let me bring this up. If you click on here, well, no, let's go back. If you click on this one, it will open up in your editor, which is great. So anywhere where you see the actual namespace and the controller pop up, you should be able to jump to it, which is very useful. Now, before we finish up, let me just close this down. I do remember that, yes, here you can sort it by duration and also by source. So let's save the database because remember, just a minute ago, I mentioned it would be good if you could filter the queries. Let's have a look and see what that actually does. Let's come along in here. Oh, another thing, if you do want to close, I did cover it. If you do want to close the actual um, uh, toolbar, sorry, profiler, click on the X here on the right, and then you get this nice little Drupal icon. You can open it back up. All right, so we've profiled it. Let's profile it one more time. And let's click on our queries. 299 queries, but we are logged in, to be fair. And then if you come along in here, I do believe, is this sorted by any way? Not really. Anyway, but you do have that option. Okay. All right. So that is pretty much Web Profiler. Now, before we jump on to other things, do we have any questions? Let's see how things are going. All right. All right. Okay. No, we don't. Cool. Let's move on. All right. So the next module which we're going to look at is called, let me bring it up. It is called Module Builder. It is used to build modules, hence the name Module Builder. Now, this module has been around for a pretty long time. I remember playing with it, yeah, back in Drupal 7 days. It's been around for a while. And I've used it once or twice, but I generally use the Drush Generate command for generating code, and also recently been using ChatGPT to generate code as well. Because I do have GitHub Copilot, but even GitHub Copilot sometimes is a bit iffy. Maybe I'll do a video on how I develop with GitHub Copilot and um, anyway, that's a whole conversation for another video. Which actually might be a smart idea because AI is very popular these days. You know, jump on what's popular, get the views. Anyway, the module builder, as the name suggests, because the usability of a module always starts with the name. That's what I learned a long time ago. Somebody mentioned it in the community. This allows you to build modules. Now, to get started, scroll down, and I don't think anything special is required to install it. It's just, I'm just looking at my notes. Yep, everything's fine. Grab that, and let's go ahead and install it. Oh, no, something will come up. All right, bit of debugging. I was prepared for this. All right, the joys of Composer. All right, so now what we have is we have some problem with a library dependency. So you can see here that this Drupal code, so over here, you can see Drupal code builder requires PHP parser 4, but version 5 was found. So generally what happens, and I thought I'll keep this in as a bit of an exercise. So generally when this happens, what you want to do is figure out where's this actual library and what is using this library. So this PHP parser, I have an idea on which module is using it, Web Profiler. So the simple solution would be to just uninstall Web Profiler and then remove it, not uninstall it, but then compose and remove. And then it'll remove the actual library. Now there is a comment by Carlo saying -W in Composer. Now, yes, I was getting to that, but one thing to be aware of is that you need to make sure that, um, luckily for us, Web Profiler actually allows for version 4 and version 5. The problem would be is if Web Profiler only supported version 5 of it, so then you couldn't run both at the same time. So just be aware of that. But we can easily figure that out just by running. Let me clear that so we can scroll back up. Composer Y, and then just chuck in the actual uh, package name. And luckily, you can see that Web Profiler requires this PHP parser, and you can also use. I assume this one is also or operator that uses that. You can use version 5 and version 4. If this was just version 5, then you would have to uninstall Web Profiler. But luckily for us, it works, and it does work because I did test this out. So let's go back, and as as the comment suggests, thanks a lot. Put in -W, I think it's an uppercase W. That just means with dependencies. But if you're like me and you're a terrible speller, I can never spell with dependencies correctly. I always spell dependencies wrong. And you can see straight away that it's gone ahead and downloaded a bunch of stuff. Now, luckily, nothing is broken because when I see a package just all of a sudden change a ton of Symfony components, it kind of worries me a bit because of just recently I did a Drupal 9 to Drupal 10 upgrade, and I spent about 2 weeks going through and fixing up not not 2 weeks full time, but I spent a lot of time in Composer just getting my head around all these things. So I do kind of worry when I see this big update. But anyway, everything works because yeah, it works because I tested it all out. All right. Now we have module builder downloaded, and then let's jump over. Let's close this, go to extend, and let's search for what's this called? Module builder. Right down at the bottom and click on install. Let that go ahead and install. Then what you want to do is go to configuration. Let's close this. Profiler down at the bottom and scroll down until you find module builder. You should see it over here, module builder. And then you want to analyze code. And what this does is that this actually checks to see and it checks your local code base to find all services, routes, controllers, and templates and things like that. And also hooks and things like that as well. So it's analyzing your code base, and it is pretty quick. As long as you have some type of opera cache, it should be pretty quick. If you have Xdebug, things will be a little slow. All right. So now to create a module, all you need to do is come to list and then click on add module. And let's go ahead. Well, let's not worry about that. Let's ignore that. There we go. Refresh the page. Problem solved. It's kind of like putting a sticker over a check engine light in a car. Anyway, that was just some permission problems, don't worry. Alright, now what we wanna do is put in the actual module name. So I'll call this one WebWash CRM. We're creating a WebWash CRM. Leave the location as it is. Let's leave all of this and then click on Save Basic Information. Okay, so now we come to the fun part. I think I'll probably have to zoom out a little bit because there is a lot here. Let me zoom out. There. Now, what we can do is start at the bottom and click on Next. All right. So now what we can do is define any custom hooks. So you can see there are a lot of hooks. So let me search for suggestion, hook theme suggestions. Okay. I can even, I believe it will open that up, which is good. We'll keep it opened up because you can see there's a lot of hooks. You can even chuck in extra hooks. There's hook. So if there's a specific, I'm going to say the word hook. I'm going to stop saying it right now. But if there's a specific hook, I have to say it again. Sorry, you can chuck it in there. And then what you want to do is save and then click next. If you don't click on save, it's not going to then save the actual hook because what you are essentially doing is you are defining your module at every single page, the code you then generate. So just be aware of that. You want to save it at every single point. All right. The next part is plugins. Now, what I did realize is that you really need to have a good understanding of Drupal's API system and plugin system to actually use this module. So if you're trying to use it to get away from writing code, you're kind of out of luck because you need to be able to understand, oh, I need to create a block. So then I need to create a plugin and use this block type variant and things like that. So yeah, you really can't use this as like a node code thing. Think of it as just using it with scaffolding code and that's it. And then you go in there and modify it yourself. All right. So let's click on set the plugin type. And let's keep this simple. So this is just going to create a basic block. And I'll give this block plugin, WebWash, CRM, latest. And that's actually nice. It generates a nice little plugin class for us. That I do like. You can inject services because yeah, there's one thing I do not like doing is manually changing that services and dependency injections. A class is very verbose. That's what ChatGPT is good for. It's actually very good at telling it to pull in another class, and it automatically updates the code for you. Okay, that's gonna be another presentation, another one. All right. So at this point, we're telling Module Builder to give us a plugin with essentially a plugin class with the plugin ID of WebWash CRM latest, and that's it. And let's just leave it at that. I don't want this to be too complex. Then what you can do, and this is pretty full on, you can go ahead and create your own custom entity type. And generally, this is a pretty big development job to create it. But even using module builder, there's a lot of code you need to manage if you are going to use if if you are going to create your own entity type. So I do recommend you think really long and hard about why are you creating your own entity type. There are reasons for it, but I, in my many years of doing Drupal, I've only once or twice, maybe 3 times created my own entity. Um, so yeah, there is that. If it was easier to create, like if it was something like Laravel or Symfony where you create like a model and easily just generate it quickly, then yeah, I would probably utilize it more. But from a Drupal standpoint, there's a lot of code involved and there's a lot of integration you need to write yourself when you just easily can type. And then also the latest version of Drupal has bundle classes where you can add extra business logic around the content type. And it's just cleaner code. So there's really no need to do this. But hey, if you're feeling adventurous, by all means, just jump in. All right, let's skip that. Let's go to routes and forms. Now, one thing I will put in is a admin form, because that's one thing I do not like creating, admin forms, because it's all very verbose. It's always the same stuff. Come along in here and create an admin form. Let's call this one admin settings form. Yeah, why not? And let's add it to development. And I'll put in one form item, which is form class. Yeah, keep it my form. And I'll add in one element, which is text field CRM key. Oh, wait, no, that needs to be a key. CRM key. CRM key. All right, cool. Then we click on save and next page. You can add in tests if you love writing tests. And then under miscellaneous, you have a whole bunch of stuff. You can put in event subscribers, which is useful. And then you can chuck in extra hooks. You can even put in a Drush command. You can generate a README. And then finally, let's go to generate code. Here you can see all the code that will be generated. So if you click on show, it actually shows you on the right-hand side. Zoom in a little bit. Oh, maybe not that much. You can see all of the code that it is generating. And then you can come along here and be like, all right, cool, cool, cool. Let me have a look at this stuff. And it's come along. And then once you're ready to generate, what you can do is come along down here, and hopefully you can see it right down at the bottom here. Let me bring it up. Good old trusty inspector just brings it up so it's easier to view. You have write selected code, write new files, write all files. So let's click on write all files, because what I wanted to do is actually just go ahead and generate it. Goes ahead, writes it. You first get this green one, and then you get this warning message. Now, this warning message, not sure why it's there, but essentially it's saying this module already exists. Yeah, because it's been created. And it does recommend that you use version control to kind of track differences between them. Because one thing you can do is now we can modify the module again. Even though it's been generated, this isn't just a one-off generation and you're done. We can go ahead and add in an extra plugin. But I'll show you how to do that in a second. Let's go ahead and actually install the module, because that's where the rubber meets the road. And that's where we want to make sure that it is actually working. So if we come to here, so modules, we have this WebProfiler CRM, and we can take a look at our code. Good. Looks pretty decent. Oh, I didn't write it. We have our routes. All this stuff works. Well, I think so. It created a schema.yaml. And under forms, we have our form. Oh, it created two of them. Interesting, interesting. I thought I was going to chuck that in there. Anyway, so it did create a form right here, this separate form, and then we have our settings as well. And most importantly, it created this links menu, which is good, because I always get this part wrong as well whenever I create backend pages. And then we have our actual lock. Okay, interesting. It's using the new, what is it? Is this new PHP annotations instead of the YAML annotations? Pretty cool. Pretty cool. All right, cool. All right. Now let's go ahead and install this. This is where all your hard work is like, oh, I've got this module generator and it does not work. It does work. We do have to change a few things. Let's just give it a go. Install it. Wait for it. It's going ahead. No errors yet. Great. And if we, so what did we put in? I forgot. What did we put in? All right, let's go check out the backend page. All right, let's go to configuration. Let's have a look at our backend page. If we scroll down here, it was under, there it was, development. Perfect. Now we have WebProfiler CRM. Sweet. All right, we can chuck in our setting. So test, test, test. Does it actually? It actually does save the settings. So if I come along in here, submit config. All right, so now we should see a config. If we go to configuration, I did not even think of that. If we come to export a single item, we should see where is this? Where is this? Maybe I just cannot see it. Oh, maybe it'll be over here. Oh, here we go. Right down on the bottom. Here we can see WebWash CRM settings. So we automatically created that config item. Great. Because you don't have to write code, which is awesome. Um, all right. Now let's have a look at the block. So let's go to structure, block layout, and let's add it to the sidebar. Click on place block. Okay. Something is not working. Boom. Let's open it up. Some Ajaxy stuff is not working. No, it's not. You can have a look here. Let's zoom that in. All right. Now, if we click on here, well, let's go back to here and click on place. All right. Block, we have an error. Now, I have to scroll this up, man. Up, preview, response. Now, one thing I did discover, I think this is, honestly, I don't know which module is doing this. This is awesome. It actually shows you a nice templated exception page. I think this is probably Web Profiler. Let's just say Web Profiler, or it can be Devel, one of them. I don't know which one it is, but yeah, this is actually awesome. I did not even think I I discovered this today, which is, sometimes, Drupal can sometimes surprise you, but this is absolutely awesome because so many times I have to check these debug things, and you're just looking at like a JSON reply, and it's a pain to look at. And you can see all this stuff. Not really sure what that does. What does that do? Oh, okay. Well, I'm not really sure. Anyway, there's a ton of stuff here. Pretty cool. Awesome stuff. Okay. You come along here. So right now it is complaining about our annotations. So you can see here that it is complaining about our annotations. So there's a few things. Um, context, provider. So yes, it's our code because you can see here it's failing. Well, you probably can't see that in the stream, but yeah, it's failing there. So what I want to do, and this is something that I often do when I'm testing out code that is generated somehow. You want to go back to it and you want to go to our thing, and we need to start removing a bunch of these methods because I do know that the most important one is just build. Let's remove all of them. Well, let's remove that. Let's remove that. And let's go ahead and we'll also remove these contexts because I do believe that's probably what's causing it as well. And you want to keep it as simple as possible, and then you just add to it. And instead of this, let's actually return something. So that is, oh, all right. Thanks, ChatGPT. Oh no, thanks, Copilot. Yeah, let's just chuck that in. That should work. Actually, close enough. There you go. Done. All right, cool. Save that. Now, if we refresh the page and click on place block, no, it's still happening. Why is that? What we probably need to do, let's go back here. Let's clear the cache and see if that fixes the problem. All right, let's give that a second. All right, clear the cache. Clearing the cache fixes up 99.9% of your Drupal problems. There we go. Brilliant. All right. Search for WebWash. It's funny how after you've used Drupal for so long, you kind of know when things are broken, even though nothing tells you it's broken. It's like, no, there should be a pop-up, something's broken. Somebody really should put in a little thing that kind of pops up. I'd be curious if there was, yeah, I'd be curious if Web Profiler throws up a little thing. Anyway, all right, let's add this in. Let's add it to the sidebar. Scroll down and click on Save Box. Go to the home page, and we're there. There you go. Block is added. Now, before we move on to Drush, let's now modify our module because a module is never done. So let's go to our modules page, so module entities, and here you can edit and just get access to a whole bunch of stuff. But let's go to where was it? Miscellaneous. And let's add in something simple such as a permissions. And I'll call this one access my module access web wash CRM. Access web wash CRM. All right. Save and generate code. It's going to go over there. All right. Now, has it actually generated the code? Or oh, it has. All right, cool. It's gone ahead and generated the code for us already. Now, has it actually modified our existing code? No, it hasn't. Interesting. All right. So it's gone ahead and just simply generated the code for us. There you go. All right. Oh, there's a comment here. Could you check the log files? Yes, I could check the log files, but I knew what the problem was. And I wanted to also show you the exception. So yeah, when there are errors, like coming back, so there was a comment about could you check the log files regarding the errors? Yes, you can. There's many ways of checking for um, log errors, but yeah, one of them is just looking at the Ajax requests. Now let's have a quick look and see what happens if you write all files. I want to see if it's going to go ahead. Oh no, actually produces an exception. Interesting. All right, Drupal exception. All right, cool. Anyway. Now, have I broken the site? Let's have a look. No, I haven't. All right, cool. All right. Now, what's happened there? Oh, it's chucked it. Okay, so he has chucked everything else back in. All right, cool. Let's go ahead and remove this. So he has gone in there and chucked everything back in. Makes sense. I did say generate all files. So that's where you want to make sure you are using version control to manage everything. Where was that? Let's see how good code pilot is. Return. Oh, yeah, close enough. All right. Thanks, mate. All right. Let's go back here, clear the cache, and hopefully we haven't stuffed our website up. No, awesome. All right, cool. There you go. All right. Hello, world. All right. Now, any questions in regards to module builder before we move on to our last and final, which is Drush? All right. Just looking at all the comments, making sure. This is actually good. I think this is the highest turnout I've had on all platforms. People really want to see development tools. All right. Now let's look at our final tool, which is called Drush. Now, Drush is a CLI tool, so command line tool. It is not a module you install, but you install it the same way using Composer, and it just works. So the way to install it is by going into your terminal and typing in Composer require Drush, not Drupal, Drush slash Drush. And let that go ahead and install. Give that a second, and it's done. And that's it. Okay. Now, the way you load it up is by going into your vendor bin and Drush. Okay. Now, there used to be a launcher, but I don't know if that's changed or I think it's probably yeah, this has changed where before you used to run Drush, you could run Drush globally by installing it as a global package on your computer, but now it's essentially just a library, and you just run it directly from vendor bin Drush. And you can put in there are a whole bunch of tools for putting in autocomplete whichever way you want. I'm just used to running it this way, and hit enter, and you get it all these command options. Pretty simple. Now, let's just run through a few of these items. Scroll all the way to the top, scroll, 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 scroll. You have a whole bunch of stuff here. You can archive, cache, you can manage config, call stuff. You have deploy. This is running deploy hooks. Now, if you have a module that actually comes with Devel, um, with sorry, Drush commands, you will see them here available. You can also generate. You can manage fields. You can flush image styles. There's a whole bunch of stuff you can do. There's a ton of stuff you can do here. All right, so let's have a look at the first one. All right, let's clear that, go back up, and type in status or just ST. This is the most common, everyone uses this one just to make sure the Drupal site's loading up. So straight away, you can see the database name, database details, version, PHP version, Drush version, web root. It's just basic stuff. Whenever I set up a Drupal site, first thing I do, grab this, check it out, have a look, so on and so forth. Okay. The next one is Drush CR. Now, these so if we search for, okay, you can write the full command, or you can write, um, or you can write just the alias. Right. I did not. I did not know that there was still a Drush CC. Clear specifications or clear all caches, rebuild caches. Honestly, what is the difference? Because I remember in Drupal 7, it was like, Drush CC all. Now it's just Drush CR. You know. So normally what I do is I just do Drush CR because I'm not going to write um, Drush cache colon blah blah blah. So that's why you want to type in Drush CR. It goes ahead and what does this do? Oh, okay. Oh. Now, what if you do? Well, let me see what this does. What is it? Dash dash help commands. Oh, I so that's being specific. So that's specific bits. So I'm wondering if you can do drush cc all. No, no. Drush cc 0. No, that doesn't all. Okay. So yeah. So drush cc allows you to just uh, flush specific cache bins. So if you just want to flush the router, the controller, and things like container, things like that, you can do that. Or in my case, you just go drush CR and you're done. All right. Now you can also use drush to debug and find routes. Now, what I want you to do is use grep as your friend. So type grep and then search for route, and this will give you the command for the route. So instead of typing call colon route, just type in route, and you can see straight away the path, the actual route, and also the name. And if you want, you can search. So you can say, well, actually, I want to search for, what is it, structure? Did I spell that right? There you go. I can search for structures. And then if you want to debug this one even further, what you can do is you can grab this and type in. So let me clear this. So it's right up top. If you type in route, then dash dash name equals, you type in the name and it'll give you information about the actual route. So this is the same information that you have in Web Profiler and also what is it, Devel? So they have the same information. You can also chuck in. So if you go dash dash help, I believe if you put in the path, yeah, you can also put in the path as well, and it'll give you the same information. So make use of the dash dash help, and yeah, you will be able to see exactly what needs to be added. Now, the other thing you can use Drush for, and that is to manage your module. So if you search for, what is it, grep project? No, what is it? Packages? Program. No, I forgot what it is. Called modules. No, what is the main PM? Oh no, it's actually just called PM. Oh, okay. I thought it was called. Okay. So here you have a thing where you can enable your modules, uninstall them, or so install them, uninstall them, and also list them. So if we type in Drush PM list, you can see all of your enabled or disabled modules. You can go one step further, you go help, you can filter it by status. So you can say, well, actually, I only want to see modules which are enabled. So I believe that would be, so status equals enabled. Let's do that. Status is enabled. And then we have type equals module. Is this going to work or do I need to wrap that with? Okay, there we go. Pretty simple. And it's very useful. And this is a good way of just managing. Often when I have to do some investigation on a Drupal site, or if I picked up a new site and I need to review it, this is the first place I go. So I grab it. I can see which ones are custom, the version of them. It's a great way to do a bit of reconnaissance. Now, you can also use Drush to communicate directly with SQL. So again, let's clear it. Let's bring this back. And if we grep and type in SQL, we'll see a few options here. So you can do, so you can jump into the CLI. You can do a SQL dump. You can do an SQL drop. You can also query. You can sanitize. You can sync. A dump, of course, exports the database out. But the one that I like is the SQL CLI. So that's SQL-C. And now you're straight away in your MySQL thingy where you can query stuff. Now, you have to make sure that Drush can communicate and connect to MySQL. But if I go, what is it, show tables, you can look at that. And if I go select, what is it, node, select star from node, I can see all of the table, all the content from here. Again, this is a useful way of just, if you need to run commands or something, deploying and you need to jump onto the server and quickly run commands, this is a good way of doing it. That's if you have access to the production server. All right. Another thing you can do, and that is run PHP, which is either a good thing or a bad thing. Depends which, it depends how you look at it. So you have PHP CLI, you have PHP eval. Now, I use PHP eval just to run arbitrary code sometimes. And what you can do here, let me just copy paste in a bit of code. What you can do is you can run code essentially like this. Now, when you're pulling in, when you want to use methods, make sure you use the full namespace because you're not going to use a use statement in it. So make sure you put that proper use statement in there. But if you hit enter, it will actually return the title for the user. So if I type in that, let's go node. Let's see if node 10 is there. Maybe something might return. There you go. Node 10 returns the title. And so I've often used this to just kind of fix up, I don't know, if I had to fix up content, for example, and it's part of a deployment, because often you want to make slight changes to a term which has a dependency somewhere. You can just run this bit of this command and then just add it to like a script or something. So that's very useful. All right, let's just quickly look at other commands before we jump onto generating code. Another popular one which I like. So let's just type in vendor Drush, and that is up WP. This one's used for changing databases. So you can change no, sorry, not changing databases. Changing usernames. Sorry, changing passwords for a username. So whenever I set up a local site and I want to get into admin, I just go in there and change it. I think you can even change. No, you can change the username as well. Yeah. By default, it is, I think, user one. But yeah, you can go in there and change it. And it's very, very useful just to get in there. Yeah, there is mention about piping. Yes, you can do that. There's a comment. You can pipe Drush command so that it prints to a text file. Yeah, let me show you how to do that. So what you can do, coming back to here, to just pipe commands. So this is another thing you can do is with the Drush command. So if we were to, what is it, PM, what is it, route, for example. Route, yeah, okay. This is too long, okay? And it's annoyingly long. What we can do is we can say pipe route.txt. Can't see that, but if you then go into your code and go where this is, you should see here you go. You will see a .txt file and everything is piped across. So this is a great way of just getting large bits of code out. So yeah, thanks for that comment. And that came in from YouTube, that comment. All right, now the last command I like to run is site install because I reinstall sites a lot, especially when I do videos like this or when I write tutorials over on WebWash. I'm installing sites every second day. And what you can do is run the site install. So SI, or I think it's site install. I don't know. I just use SI, but if you type in help, yeah, that's it. So what you can do is run just a basic one, like Drush, SI, and then the distribution name, so standard. So essentially what you can do is just run this command, which is Drush SI standard, and you'll just install the standard installation profile. And then you can go ahead and be very fancy, put in all your custom configurations and things like that, whichever way you want. But of course, it does drop your database and reinstall it, so be careful because it will destroy your database. Just be aware of that. It will destroy it. All right. Now, let's look at the last thing with Drush, and that is generating code. So if I type in, well, let's go clear that. So we go back to the top. So if I type in Drush generate, you will see a lot of code that can be generated. So we have, you scroll up, all right, we can generate controllers, fields, modules, layouts, Drush commands, entities, forms, plugins, services, whatever you want. Whatever you want can be generated. So let's go ahead and generate a module. So first you want to type in Drush, generate module. Now call this one WebWash project. The machine name will be WebWash project. Oh, no value is required. Projects. Why is that required? Anyway. All right, go next, 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 next. All right, done. All right, it's gone ahead and it is there. So if we go in our site, let's close all of this. Go to modules, we should see WebWash project, and then we have a single module here, which is we don't even have a module file. It's just a .info file, which is the only thing required. Now let's go ahead and add in a block. So that is generate block. Now what you can do is search for your module, but we need to make sure that we install the module. This is what always catches me off guard if I've just created a module. So what we need to do is enable the module. So Drush en WebWash project, and that's gone ahead and installed. Now what we can do, let's go block, search for WebWash project. There we go. It's there. The block label will be, I don't know, WebWash project latest. Yeah, why not? Let's use that. Yep, yep, yeah, that looks good. All right, done. It's in there. So now if we go here, we can see that our code has been generated, and you can see that, well, this is using the old annotation style. So as I mentioned, this block generated by Module Builder is using the new annotation style. So you can see here, It is the new way, whereas this one is using the old way. Interesting. Okay. So let's close that one. And this one gives you an actual working example straight away. You see that just block is there and everything is working. So if we come along in here in our site, let's close this. Let's close that and go to structure, block layout, sidebar. It should work. Yep, good. Um, web wash, project latest, save block, hit save. Then if we go to the home page, we should see it works. Block, there we go. Web wash project. It works. Awesome. It works perfectly fine. Now what we can do is let's add in a controller. And let's just build this out a little bit more. So I do know that it is, what is it, controller name. Can I type in actually just project? No, I have to start with a module. Name is webwash underscore project. Yep, 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 yep. Would you like to create a route for this? Yes, 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 yes. Ooh, what's up in here? Duplicate key. Did it actually fail? Duplicate key, duplicate key. All right, let's have a quick look and see. It did fail. All right, cool. Let's do that again. So controller, web wash, project. Yes. No dependencies. Do you want to create a route? Yes, I do. Route name. Yes. Route. Well, maybe there's a duplicate route for that. Let me call. Let's try and debug this. So what's it complaining about? Admin detected administration. That's complaining about that. Why is it complaining about that? Duplicate key, but I'm not even mentioning that. All right. Well, what we're going to do, let's go ahead here. So it is complaining about something in here. Okay. Oh, why did it administer key? Interesting. All right. Well, we found that. There we go. Why did that happen? Anyway. Oh, that's right. Because we regenerated that. All right. Let's clear that again. Let's do that again. All right. Web wash project. Yes. Yes. Everything's fine. Route name. That's fine. We can change that later on. There we go. Brilliant. Okay, cool. Come along here. Let's close that. We have a route. Perfect. You can see that our route path is there and our path is actually here. So now if we go to this controller, you can see our controller right here. And if we go to, what is it? Slash project, it says page not found. Maybe we need to clear the cache or maybe the access. No, it says access there. Da, da, da. Invoke final class strict. All right. So did I paste that incorrectly or incorrectly? Path. All right. Let's just clear the cache. Where is it? Devel. Maybe we just need to clear the cache. Oh, all right. There you go. Clear the cache. Of course. Of course. Straight away, I think, oh, did I do something wrong? No, you just need to clear the cache. All right. So that is how you generate code using Devel, and that is pretty much it. How are we going with time? Well, here in my stream, it says 1 hour and 23 minutes. I'll probably be a little shorter once I cut it up. All right, cool. Anyway, that is it. So that is how you use tools for Drupal. So let's just quickly go through them. So you have Devel, which is used as a good as a good module that can help you just build out Drupal sites. Comes with a lot of tools. Then you have WebProfiler that allows you to profile pages and also allows you to just debug things. Then you have Module Builder, which is used to build modules. And then you have Drush, which you should have on every single site. I've been using Drush for the last 10 years or however long it's been around, since Drupal 6, I think. A very, very long time. Does this actually show you all the versions? Let's have a look, Nathan. But yeah, I've used Drush for a long, long time. So I do recommend that you use Drush. Always have it installed. Always have it installed. All right. So any questions? How are we going? Everything's looking good. Nothing failed with the stream. All right. All right. We have a comment, just another fab webinar. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Um, it's good to know that, yeah, people do like what is it, development stuff, which is great. So, all right, I think that is it. Anyway, so that is it from me. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to learn more about WebWash, just head over to webwash.net. I do have a bunch of tutorials over there. I am kind of now struggling writing the tutorials for these webinars because I like to have a text version of this tutorial. But I do know that the last two tutorials, no, the last two webinars don't actually have, well, webinars or live streams, whatever you want to call this, don't actually have a text version on the site. I'm just trying to get it out there as quickly as possible. Um, yeah, if you want to learn more about Drupal, head over there, and hopefully I'll be looking at other technologies as well that can, that can complement Drupal or even compete against Drupal, because I'm playing around with a lot of things. Anyway, that's it from me. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you all next time.